Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. It is fine time, and I mean fine time, that I make this kind of video. Because the economy of the game has changed, and with it, for a rare circumstance, comes motivation from clearing new content. I think part of the reason why people get so frustrated about, especially people who have the best rosters, and they just get so bored. I mean, 8.3 was the easiest in some ways, especially because of lack of paths. 8.3 was the easiest we've ever seen games. If you look at, let's just jump into 8.3 for the time being. This looks like Act 1 or Act 2 in my brain in terms of how many paths. You're looking at 3 right here. 3 paths. And yes, the defenders are stubborn, and yes, they have weapon and disarm and everything else you can think of. Unarmed capture, heavy bias, adrenaline rush, hold the line, all this kind of stuff. It feels like you're reading like a calculus book if you go through each one of these. But once you figure out how best to counter it, and yes, when you have Hercules, in most paths, not all paths, but most paths, it really helps. But in general, it just takes way less time than it used to, unless you don't have the energy refills, and I was blessed enough to have like 10 or 15 in my overflow, though you'll see if I try to use an energy refill now, I went from like 20, 25 energy refills to, if I'm hiding my webcam, 3. So yeah, I didn't have to use any units for them, but I basically took care of my stash that I had been saving up for, just such an occasion. If you compare it to something that I never recommend that you finish, and that's Act 6. I mean, you can see it's never going to get done. I just don't care. If you look at the rewards now, even for exploration, Tier 2 Alpha, a 6-star Nexus, a 6-star Awakening Gem, 6-star rank up gems from rank 1 to rank 2. I mean, these rewards when they came out were pretty incredible. Now, the side quest makes them look like a joke. But let's say that we're going to jump into the last chapter of Act 6. Let's just remind ourselves of what this used to look like. Look at all the different paths and nodes and time it takes. Look how long these paths are. These nodes were made to be very long and very challenging. And there are still 5 uncompleted paths, if not more, and 6 minimal total. So we're talking about literally twice as many paths as there were in the newest chapter of Act 8. This is the past. 8.3 is the future. And look, I'm not saying that there isn't some justification for people labeling my channel as too negative. But I try to be open-minded about what Kabam is doing to improve the game. Yes, there are still issues with it, and I need to make a video. I keep telling myself this, I just need to write it down. To talk about the input issues, because those of you who especially are on some Android phones have told me that it's unplayable for you. But Kabam doesn't want to talk about this. They want to ignore the problem. And that is kind of terrifying when you consider that people have spent thousands of dollars or more on a game that they can barely get to work. And what's really sad is there are people out there who, if people aren't as able to spend on this game like they are, they just talk to them like they're second-class citizens. That's one of my biggest complaints about this community. And I'm sure it's not unique to the community here. I'm sure it's every community to a certain extent. Heck, you could be saying the same things about Madden or Fortnite. But I talk to people all the time who only spend on this game when they get allowance from their parents or when they have some extra student loan money left over from when they pay their college bills. Like, maybe you're somebody who has to choose between buying the new offer or getting your kid's backpack for school, which, please get the backpack over this game. But I'm just saying, like, expenses are expenses. So it's not as easy as just to tell somebody, hey, buy a new phone. No. I think that's not empathetic and that's not helpful. So I try to be the voice of people who have to live with the phone or the tablet that they have. And that's just a reality of where we are right now in the game. But in the meantime, Kabam deserves so much credit for how they made 8.3. It's so functionally doable in such a short amount of time that the biggest complaint I've heard is that it's too easy. People want it to be harder. They want it to be like Act 6. And I say, wait for the next version of the Abyss. But be happy for so many players who get to complete it with the rosters that they have. I know people who've been jumping in this with rank 2 6 stars and doing it. It might take 20 minutes per fight. But hey, when you have less paths, it's not as discouraging because you do a path, you're 33% done, versus you do a path here and you're 18% done. Huge difference. So, Kabam deserves so much credit for this, and I'm sure the pushback on this video will be, no, they don't. It's too easy. Don't think about yourself in this. Think about the people in the community who maybe are going to be motivated to get pretty decent rewards given what they can't afford normally for cash. That's why I still play this game. That's why I still do YouTube videos, to be the voice of those people. And today, Kabam deserves a lot of credit for what they've done.